All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by 26shirts.com/Pittsburgh. And I have to apologize for the week-long hiatus. I'm totally sorry. Completely my fault. Got a nasty chest cold, completely lost my voice. I have no explanation. I literally didn't have any voice for about 3 straight days. And then the voice I had for a couple days either side of those 3 days was something similar to perhaps like Christian Bale doing Batman, but on 3 packs of menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
So
this is what happens when you drink too many Icy Light mangoes and scream nonstop for 4 hours at the TV. You lose your voice for a week.
And I have been so inundated with the just the Iron City mango beer slams. Now I want to try one. I mean, that's where I'm at. I actually want to try one just to see how bad I'm actually being slammed here. And
when you and your sorority sisters get around to tasting it, let me know how it is.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it is no fun not having a voice. Of course, my family was fine with it, but what are you going to do? You don't really want to hear that. What's that?
Your students probably were too.
Oh, that was fun. I actually used I kind of used Google Voice a little bit. It was very interesting to get through a day teaching with very little voice. I may have stumbled onto some new things. I don't know. You got to be like they said in the old Clint Eastwood Heartbreak Ridge. You got to adapt. You got to overcome. Like the Marines, and that's what I did there. But unfortunately, it doesn't work for a podcast. But the people are not here to listen to me talk about my problems because they want to hear about the Pittsburgh Steelers problems. At 1-4, Ben, welcome along, by the way. But do the Steelers have a chance of winning the AFC North? I mean, this is a bad division. Do they have a chance still?
I mean, mathematically, sure. Do they have a realistic chance? I don't think so. I think right now it's Baltimore's to lose. Cleveland seems to be up and down. I don't think that Baltimore's a quality team this year.
No,
I really don't, but I don't think they suck. I think they can win 9 games, and I don't see the Steelers winning 7 of the next 11. Do you? That'd take them to 8-8.
Right.
That'd put him within striking distance. I don't even see him getting there. I really think that this is going to be in his. How long has Tomlin been the coach? What is that? 2007, 13 years. Yeah. This will be the first time in either Ben's or Tomlin's career that the team has had a losing season, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the year. So. It's a rebuilding year, man. I said that right after the Seattle game, and people were like, "Oh, no, it's not." Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, it sucks because the defense is kind of rising to the occasion right now.
Mm-hmm.
The offense is not.
Well, and we're going to break all that down, and I agree with you. I think, it's going to take a couple of significant upsets, and you're going to have to beat everybody you're expected to beat in order to get to 9-7, quite frankly, which is probably what's going to win the division. And I just don't see it. That's not a knock necessarily on anybody. But again, you mentioned the offense just isn't getting enough done, especially for when it follows turnovers. The defense is playing pretty darn well, but we'll get into all that as we go. Let's kind of talk a little bit about the injury updates. What, Ben, let me first get your reaction because obviously it was pretty stunning when we all saw it. Did you realize, like I did, that Mason Rudolph was out cold when he was laying there on the ground?
Oh, I knew he was out cold before he hit the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
He went limp as he was in the air, and it was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he's not coming back in. And people kept going, people at the fan club where I watch the games.
Right.
Going, well, he could come back. No, he's not coming back. He was
No.
asleep. He was asleep. And if you get knocked out on the field, even if you pass every test they have and you meet all their baselines, you're not coming back. You were out cold. They're not bringing you back into the game. Not in today's NFL.
Right.
40 years ago, yeah, they probably would have brought him back.
Probably would have had him playing defense too.
Yeah, not today. No, that just isn't today's NFL. And, better safe than sorry. It's
Absolutely
fine. I thought it was a really egregious hit and that Thomas should have been ejected. I'm waiting to hear something on that this week. He better at least get a whopper of a fine. That was ridiculous. And he's got history this season. I mean, they didn't suspend him when he choked OBJ. Okay. And this is another,
Well, that was Humphrey, wasn't it?
Was it Humphrey?
Yeah, it was Humphrey. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. It was Humphrey.
Yeah.
That was Humphrey.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm mistaken. But Mason's falling forward, being pushed forward by a tackler from the back.
Yeah.
And Thomas comes in, leaves his feet, launches, hits him in the face mask with the crown of his helmet. I mean, it was textbook, roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness call. It was easy to make, and they did assess a 15-yard penalty for anybody who's listening and didn't see that. They did it during the commercial break.
And real quick, Ben, did you notice it was Walt Anderson? He just kind of walked over and dropped the flag at the feet of Mason Rudolph, and I don't think he was going to until he saw he was out cold. I honestly believe that because there was no flag until he got over top.
I think he watched the replay, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to do. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He made the call after the fact. I think he watched the replay and went, yeah, if I don't flag this, I'm never going to hear the end of it. And I don't know why we didn't flag it real time, but I'm throwing the flag now. Nobody's going to question it. And that'll be that.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think he called the flag in retrospect, which is, I don't understand how or why they would do something like that, but maybe the angle the ref saw it from, the back judge saw it from, he couldn't see that hit. I don't know, but they did call. They did throw the flag. They did not eject him. I thought they should have. I thought it was really egregious. Yeah. But we'll see what the NFL has to say about it. Thomas still maintains that it was not a dirty hit, that Mason somehow went low, and that's why he got hit in the head. I'm like, he was stood up.
No, that's laughable.
He was standing straight up, had just thrown the ball, and was getting hit from. How did he go low?
Yeah, no, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I tried to have the benefit of the doubt for Earl Thomas, but what eventually kind of has swayed me a little bit is the fact that he left his feet. And I mean, if you remember, they talked so often back, and this goes back to the early days when all this stuff was first starting with the James Harrison hits and everything. If a guy launches himself, it's automatic. It just is. It's automatic. Done. Over. Bye-bye. And they completely missed that part. And initially I did too on the replays. I was so focused on seeing where his helmet was, where his shoulders were. I didn't really even pay attention to his feet. And he did. He left his feet, just like in hockey now. I mean, hockey, they watch for guys leaving the ice, getting their skates up off the ice to project themselves at other players. And I'm with you. I can't believe there hasn't been a statement made, some sort of fine levied yet. I mean, it's got to be tomorrow. I mean, you're not going to wait until Friday. At least I wouldn't think so.
Sometimes they come out on Friday.
Maybe.
Earlier this season, Bud Dupree wasn't expecting to be fined because he didn't get a letter on Wednesday.
Oh, that's true.
For the hit on Russell Wilson, and he got a letter on Friday. So I wouldn't discount the possibility that they're still deciding what to do on that one.
Those usually come in a FedEx envelope.
They do,
don't they?
They do. They get a FedEx envelope sitting in their locker, and they can appeal the fine, but regardless, it comes out of their check that week.
Yeah.
And, if they win their appeal, they get the money back.
It is a system. I'm telling you, man, it is a system. What was your impressions of Devlin Hodges? I mean, we liked him in the preseason. I mean, we weren't exactly going to, start selling jerseys, but we liked him. We thought enough of him that, okay, we can keep this kid as a practice squad guy, ship Josh Dobbs off, which eventually they did. I mean, I liked the look on his face. He came out, he's clapping, he's talking to the linemen. And the word people keep using is moxie. I don't think I have any of that, but I'd like to get some. I like the kid. I can't really put my finger on it, but I like what he does. I mean, what did you see from him?
He loves football. It's obvious. Okay.
Yeah.
That's first. And he's gutsy. He's fearless. And you like that in a player. I mean, even if he's going to make a mistake, he makes a decision and he rolls with it. And he's not careless. He's not reckless in his fearlessness, but he's fearless. He's not afraid to try things. He's not standing back there for 4 seconds and then taking a sack. He's mobile. And I think this unit right now really needs some of that gutsiness. All of them do, to light a spark under that unit. I think they really do need that. However, I do not like his ball placement. I did not like it during the preseason. I didn't like it that much on his college tape, but I liked it a little bit better. I think he needs to work on his footwork. He needs to concentrate on setting his feet before he throws the ball instead of just throwing the ball. And I didn't see too many terrible decisions in terms of who he decided to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
But if you're going to throw the ball to your tight end low and away, throw it outside. Don't throw it short. You know what I mean? Give him definitely a chance to make a play for you. McDonald left the game after that hit and didn't come back. And apparently he's okay now. It's not a problem, but he took a shot because he had to turn around and run into a safety. It just gives him a better chance to not take the big shot. And, the ball placement on the fumble that Juju had wasn't terrible, but it was at his hip instead of out in front of him,
Okay.
Earlier in the game, Juju on Humphrey. Humphrey was going for that same swat, trying to get the ball. Juju stiff-armed him, threw him to the ground, and ran to the end zone.
Yep.
Okay, so, great players make great plays sometimes. Humphrey made a huge one at the end of the game, and earlier on, Juju made a huge one. I mean, he literally tossed that guy off of him and ran to the end zone.
Yeah.
People need to take that into account.
Oh, great. It was a great play.
It was outstanding. I do think the ball placement could have been a little bit better on that last pass. I don't want to blame that on Hodges. Juju turned around trying to do the same thing. He was looking for the stiff arm.
Yep.
Maybe he should have had both hands on the ball. I don't know. He definitely should have at least held it up higher to his body rather than down low. Low is the wrong word, but to his side.
What you mean. Yeah.
He should have been carrying it like Jerome Bettis used to, up next to his numbers. Yeah, try and knock it out. Good luck.
Well, it's funny you say that because he might be working on that now. He
might. But you know what? He's fumbled twice in his career. Yeah. I mean, let's not make it a big thing. I'm not really going to sweat this too much.
They've just been at horrible times.
They have. They've been at horrible times. Exactly. Yeah. They've been at terrible times, and that's why they're memorable. But that play, man, I mean, 19 out of 20 times that doesn't work. What Humphrey did.
Yeah.
19 out of 20 times that does not work. And that time it did. And he was going for it the whole game long and finally knocked it out. And at the end of the day, I don't want to say it cost us the game. It cost the Steelers the game, but it cost them a chance to come back and win it. Let's put it that way.
For sure. And I mean, look, there were many, many other plays throughout the course of that game that cost the Steelers. The fact that they had those turnovers and could not get a touchdown out of it, much in the same we saw, the week prior against San Francisco. Who would have thought the Pittsburgh Steelers are leading? They're tied with the Patriots for takeaways, yet the offense just can't score. And I mean, that right there in a nutshell. And as you and I and Ian have talked about, millions and millions of times, every week in the NFL, games really do come down to a couple of plays. And there have been years when the Steelers have been 12-4, 11-5, and you can point to about 5 or 6 games where those games came down to a missed kick, to a penalty, to an interception, just one play that could have totally turned the season around against the Steelers, and it didn't. This year, we're seeing that. We're seeing those couple of plays that go against the Steelers. A guy makes a great kick, a guy forces a fumble, something like that. And now we're on the downside of it. I mean, we're that close. I can't believe I'm saying it, but we really are that close to being a 3-2, 4-1 team. But that's the NFL, though. But that's the NFL.
Yeah, that is the NFL. And here's the other thing. I keep coming back to this because it was something Bill Cowher said a long time ago. I think he said it one of the years that they were struggling so badly. I think it was 2003. And he's right. He said, the difference between a 10-6 team and a 6-10 team is so slim, you would not believe it. And you get a few wins in a row and you start catching momentum and it's contagious. Or you get a few losses in a row and you lose momentum and that becomes contagious. And it's not like there's that much that separates those teams.
Mm-hmm.
The bad teams that are 6-10 with a few breaks isn't even the right word. A few breaks, fewer mental mistakes,
right?
Better execution. All those things can be that 10-6 team as opposed to that 6-10 team. And that was the point he was trying to make. And I agree with it. And it underscores what you were just talking about a minute ago. There are times when you look back at games and you go, yeah, but they won this game closely. And the naysayers and the friggin' Tomlin haters will point to those games over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every coach has them. Got news for you. All of them do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your record is what you are. And right now, the Steelers are on the bad side of that.
Yep.
Potentially 6-10 season. I mean, 6-10 right now
looks good.
They'd go what? They'd go 5-6 the rest of the way. I guess that isn't that great.
No, it's not. But a lot of people would sign up for it right now.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, well, compared to what it could be, I guess. I don't know. It's like I said, you get into these situations where, a play here, a play there. James Conner fumbles in the game against San Francisco. Who knows? Juju fumbles this past week. Who knows? I mean, you go back and you look at the Seattle team that we lost to. That's a pretty darn good football team. And we had our chances, despite the fact that we lost Ben Roethlisberger and we were going with Mason Rudolph in his first action. So, I mean, it's just it is what it is. But as you just pointed out, and goes back to Cowher, your record is what it says you are. And every NFL coach in the league knows that. And believe me, Jay Gruden knows that today. 0-5 doesn't get it done. And he's out of a job. And so I'm sure there's going to be other coaches coming down the pike here quite soon. If they don't get it turned around, it's going to be the same thing for them. And sometimes it's just a matter of plays. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Yeah, go ahead.
Not to get too far off on a tangent here, but since we were talking about the AFC North earlier, the Browns have got a brutal stretch coming up here.
They do.
They do. They play Seattle at home this week. Then they're at New England. They've got to travel to Denver, which is always a tough place to play, even when the Broncos suck, which they do this year.
Definitely.
Then they've got to host Buffalo, and then they host Pittsburgh after that on Thursday. So I would expect them to, I'm going to say, lose 3 of the next 5 at least. And, that's going to, if the Steelers manage to win a few games in the next month,
right,
that's going to increase that talk that the Steelers could win the division. But I don't think that the Ravens are going to have that tough a time here. Who have they got next? They've got the Bengals, who they're going to crush. Then they're at
certainly
Seattle.
should.
I would expect them to.
They do have a trip to Seattle. I
They got
believe
Seattle.
they
They've
still
got
have
New England after that, and then
New
they
England
got
and the
Bengals
Rams.
again.
Yep.
Well, they've got the Bengals. I'm just talking about the next month. They've got
next
Bengals.
month. Yeah.
They're at home versus the Bengals. They're at Seattle. They're versus New England at home, and they're at Cincinnati in the next month.
Yeah. So 2-2 minimum there, right?
Yeah, that's my guess. Is 2-2 or potentially 3-1.
Yeah, if they can pull something off, either against New England or Seattle.
Seattle.
I'm going to guess they don't. You're listening to the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by 26shirts.com/Pittsburgh. They just unveiled on Sunday night a brand new shirt, hockey themed once again, and it is about as straightforward as it gets. Penguins are good on ice is what it says, and just a neat looking old shirt. And again, $8 from every one of those that are sold goes to the American Cancer Society of Pennsylvania. And obviously with it being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that makes it even bigger. And again, check out our online store because we do have a breast cancer awareness shirt right now, and we'll donate $5, which is half of what we get for every shirt sold. We'll donate it to the Coleman Foundation there in Greater Pittsburgh. So check those out and get yourself some great shirts. They're, like I said, they're always comfy. I'm telling you, these are really, really nice shirts. One of the nice things, Ben, and I'll be a little more specific about it in regards to the defense. I really think it's been a huge difference since Minkah Fitzpatrick has showed up. What are you seeing defensively in the last couple of weeks that's giving you some hope, I guess?
Well, in a word, the defensive backfield is competent.
Yeah.
That's a shitty way to put it, but
it is.
But it is, and I believe it's because of the improved level of communication and the guy who's back there calling the shots, who's the quarterback of the defensive backfield. And, who's to say that Artie Burns wouldn't still be starting if he could have worked with somebody like Minkah Fitzpatrick all this time? I can't say that he wouldn't be. And honestly, Artie's not very good in zone, but he's not awful in bump or in man. And he's pretty good in run support. So I kind of wonder. Anyway, right now it's Steven Nelson, so it is what it is. Although Nelson's got the hamstring, so you could see Artie Burns this week. It's a possibility.
So you got a hammy or a groin?
I thought it was his hammy. Is it his groin?
Okay, I thought it was groin, but either way, he's got an injury. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Groin actually would be better than hamstring. I mean,
for his, I think so too.
For his outlook, for sure.
And not just to put all the credit on Fitzpatrick though either, because Steven Nelson has played very well too. There were a lot of naysayers when the Steelers signed him, and I think a lot of times people just look at what a guy does, for the team that he's on, and they just automatically assume that he sucks. Well, sometimes you're just not in the system that works for you, and I think he's played pretty well. I mean, I've seen him get beat. Don't get me wrong. But if you play cornerback long enough in the NFL, you're going to get beat. So that happens. And, he's played well.
Still targeted quite a bit.
He is.
People need, he is. And people need to bear in mind that the reason he's targeted is Joe Hayden's pretty darn good.
Yep.
And Steven Nelson's, it's his groin. You're right.
Okay.
So he's going to be the next logical target. Between he and the slot, and any time that we try to cover a wide receiver, the linebacker, that's definitely going to get thrown to. Didn't see that much of that in the last couple of weeks either. Thank goodness. But the guy who was really good at it the last time we played him, Rivers, is going up against the Steelers this week, and he was very good at moving his receivers around and getting those matchups. So let's hope that doesn't happen again this
Yeah,
time.
I mean, Keenan Allen just absolutely ate a buffet dinner from the slot in last year's matchup, and yeah, if that happens again, forget it. The Steelers won't have a chance. But I just like what the defense looks like. I think the communication's better. I just see an overall confidence in that unit, especially the back half, that I haven't seen in the last season or two. Maybe more. And I, that's a credit to Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's obviously come in here. He's a confident guy. He's obviously got a really good football head on his shoulders to just roll on in and pick up a lot of these things that some of these guys have struggled with for 2-3 years. So I'm excited about it. I continue to say that, it sucks not having that first round draft pick come 2020, but man, this was a great trade. You got a guy locked up for 3 years, and I just think it's working out very,
You've
very
got
well.
him locked up for 3 years, and I can't think of, so far, any reason that they wouldn't exercise the 5th-year option on him.
Right.
And he was the 11th overall pick in that draft. The Steelers pegged him as a top 5 player. Basically, they've already burned their next year's first-round draft pick, but this guy is as advertised. He's worth it. And the other thing is that people really need to take into consideration is they got 2 draft picks back in the trade.
Yeah.
So, they gave up a 1 plus 2 more draft picks conditionally.
Mm-hmm.
But they also got 2 more draft picks back. So it's not, they didn't lose 3 draft picks to get this guy.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And people, a lot of fans oftentimes look at 5th and 6th and 7th round draft picks and, oh, geez, what are you going to do with that? Well, don't worry so much about who you would draft there. Instead, think about what you can do with that pick to move up in other rounds, because sometimes that's the ammunition you need to do that. And even with that said, you look at the guys that have been selected in the 5th round, 6th round in recent drafts.
Right.
There's still plenty of talent there, and so these picks are
Jalen Samuels, who everyone seems to be, he seems to be the darling of the team right now.
Yeah.
5th rounder.
That's yeah. Speaking of Samuels, what horrible news that he's out for a month. Had the knee scoped on Monday, and I think it was Mark Cavalli that said he was on crutches. He saw him in the facility just a few minutes before Tomlin started his press conference on Tuesday, and it's next man up. Benny Snell has had a real nice season so far as a special teamer. I've seen him make some plays, make some tackles. Well, now you got to start carrying the ball a little bit more, young man. So let's see what you got, and that's also going to change. A little bit about what Randy Fichtner was going to do too, because he obviously liked his Wildcat a little bit, and with Samuels gone, that's out the window too, I think.
Given that the Chargers have got so many starters right now that are beat up,
they do. They're missing several guys.
Yeah, this might not have been a terrible week to run some Wildcat, but I don't see it happening. I don't know about you.
Not now.
They may try and run some misdirection, and they probably should. You want to try and keep these guys in their heels, but I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
if you look at the Chargers, obviously we know they're missing Derwin James. He's already missed this portion of the year, but don't they? I think they have another safety that's down. I think they have a couple other guys that are banged up defensively. So, I think part of it too, and we won't know this until probably Friday or Saturday about the quarterback situation. But certainly I think Randy Fichtner has to be thinking about 2 different things here. What kind of offense am I going to run if I have Duck Hodges in there, or what am I going to do if I have Mason able to play? And we won't know that. They haven't made any decisions about Paxton Lynch coming off of the practice squad yet, and they're going to hold that card as long as possible. Because then you have to do some roster tinkering if you do that. So, I agree with you, Ben. I think this would be a decent week to do something like that. But at the same time, I'm not sure who's your Wildcat now in that situation.
I don't know either. I don't think you necessarily have the horses to run it.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see what comes. Honestly, I don't know that I'm going to miss it. I didn't like it last week. I was nervous when they ran it, even versus the Bengals, but then it worked a few times, and I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, well, this is kind of fun. It's fine. It just seems like, they're stealing 5 or 8 yards at a pop, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But against the Ravens, it didn't work at all, not even a little. And, I tend to think, well, you're right. Adrian Phillips is out too. They're probably not as in as poor condition defensively as the Bengals are, but they're not strong right now. Right. They're not strong right now, so it might not be a bad time to run it. I don't know. I'm not going to miss it. Sorry.
No, I'm not going to either, and believe me, I'm not going to be sitting here pounding the table for it if I don't see it on Sunday night. But you look at that Denver team that just went into Los Angeles and beat the Chargers. That's not a real good Denver team. I mean, okay, they got some talent here and there, but
but they know each other.
Well, they do. There's that divisional familiarity, right. But
wow, I didn't know Adderley's hurt too. He's got a hamstring.
Yeah,
he didn't practice today.
Yeah,
wow,
they are banged up, and I think if if there's a time to play the Chargers, it's now.
I agree.
And now I say this, and of course I'll probably live to regret this, but I haven't been overly impressed with Phillip Rivers the last 2 or 3 games I've watched him either. He's missing open receivers. If he gets any sort of pressure whatsoever, the ball is not coming out well. I think he's relying a ton on Eckler, which I understand. Eckler's a good back, but I think this is a good time to get the Chargers because for them, they see Kansas City losing last week. They all of a sudden get a little curious about getting themselves back into that race. Raiders are 3-2, so they really can't afford to lose any more games. And obviously we know we can't. So it's one of those, say, must win.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin's 1-6 on the West Coast and the Steelers have historically always struggled on the West Coast. And in particular, Mike Tomlin, I'm not going to discount the struggles that Tomlin's had there, but the last time that he won there, was versus this team in prime time.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's encouraging. Let's put it that way.
It is. That was a walk-off.
It would be great to win this game, even if it's by 1 point. I don't care. And go into the bye, with a good feeling rather than going into the bye with, oh, man, we're 1-5. This is going to suck.
Well, and I will say this, too. I really thought that Indianapolis game coming out of the bye looked a lot more enticing than it does now because that team just went to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. So all of a sudden they look a little more formidable than I initially thought. Doesn't mean I don't think we can beat them. We're at home. We can. But it just looks like a tougher game overall coming out of the bye than I initially had. And then they've got Miami right after. So, if you're putting on your black and gold glasses for a second, you steal one in Los Angeles, you come back, you get your bye, you get a little healthy, and maybe you get, a couple more wins there. And then who knows, if Baltimore struggles in their games and we expect Cleveland to struggle with their games. And who the heck knows? But that's the crazy state of the NFL. You just don't know week to week anymore.
I think in order for the Steelers to climb back in, they'd have to win like 4 in a row. And
going to take some kind of streak.
I don't see it.
No, because there's always that hiccup in the road that gets in the way of that 3rd or 4th win in a row. Whether it's having to go to Cleveland or having to play at God forbid Arizona, where we've had a little bit of success at Arizona.
Yeah, no, they've done pretty well at Arizona. The next month they have the Chargers away, then the bye, then they're Miami at home on Monday, then the Colts, who are playing really well.
Yeah.
And then the Rams at home, who are also playing pretty well, and then Cleveland away. And they really screwed us on that Cleveland game. Cleveland not only plays at home the Sunday before they host the Steelers. They also play in the 1 o'clock time slot. The Steelers have to play at 4:25, and then they got to travel 3 days later on Wednesday to Cleveland for a Thursday night game. The NFL really tried to stack the deck to make Cleveland get a win versus the Steelers for once.
Absolutely, and you won't hear anything different from me. You won't hear any excuses from Mike Tomlin. I appreciate that about Tomlin. He doesn't make excuses, but that's really giving a team, what would you say, almost 36 extra hours of time.
I'm not going to go that far, but I'd say 12. It gives them a 12-hour advantage. They've already got a few hours on recuperation because their game will be over when the Steelers kick off.
Right.
Then they don't have to travel at all. The Steelers do.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm
huge.
looking at.
And
yep.
The Steelers take buses there because when you combine the flight time and then getting off of the flight and getting onto a bus and getting to the hotel, it actually takes longer than just driving from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. So
it
they
does.
Just drive.
It's incredible. It really is.
And it's fine. I mean, it makes sense. If that's the way it works out for you, that's what you should do. And then they can load up on buses right out of the stadium and come straight back rather than going back to the hotel and grabbing their gear and everything else and then going to the airport. So, it's a rough week. Those guys they'll be ready for a break, and they get kind of a little mini bye, if you will, after the Thursday night game. They're off until Monday after that game, so they get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off of work. Just nice little break.
Well, and last week too, I think people forget that was the 7th time that the Steelers have played the Ravens. Now, granted, every one of those times was at home, but it was the 7th time they've played the Ravens following a Monday night game. And I've been trying to dig up the Ravens stat on that to see how many times they've had to play us after a Monday night game. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'll bet you it's not 7. In fact, I'll bet you it's not even half of that. But I don't know. It just seems like we always get hosed on those divisional games.
Well, another thing that jumps out to me is this is going to be the first time in I don't know how many years that the Ravens and the Steelers haven't played in prime time.
That's true. It will be.
It doesn't look like they're going to be.
No, they won't flex it.
I don't see them flexing that Week 17 game.
No, not. I mean, something drastic. You'd have to have both teams just get on great streaks, playing really, really well, and you and I don't see that happening. So,
no.
But stranger things. So what do you expect this week? Do you think Rudolph clears protocol? Do you think he gets the call? Or I agree. I think it's going to be Hodges. So if it is, what do you expect to see from him and Randy Fichtner this week?
A lot of rollouts. Giving him an opportunity to be able to see half the field very clearly. Although, he did throw the ball across his body last weekend.
Yep.
So
it won't pick.
Yeah, it won't shock me if he does it again. Hopefully he'll set his feet this time. And I didn't see that the last time. I didn't see him set his feet. He suddenly stopped, turned, and threw rather than stopping, turning. Turn your body, set your feet completely. Now throw. Maybe he didn't have time. I don't know. I haven't really studied that throw that in depth. But I see some rollouts. I don't see a lot of chances being taken by. He will though. That's just him. That's just his nature.
That's who he is, based on what we've seen. And if you watch his college tape,
yep. I think that Fichtner's going to try and limit that. But I just think that's who he is. He's just going to try and extend plays, and a lot of stuff is probably going to happen off script that you don't expect. And Tomlin likes it. He likes it when Ben does it. I don't see him discouraging it in game. So I don't really know exactly what to expect. Hopefully some misdirection. Spread the defense out a little bit. Ingram's looks like he's not going to play. Bosa is still there, and he's formidable. So Well, you're going to have to come up with something to try and keep him on his toes, keep him honest, rather than just rushing straight at Hodges.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I think you're going to see bootleg. You're going to see rollout. I think giving him the opportunity just to only read half the field, and I like the fact that he's willing to tuck it and run, pick up the yards. I think they'll take that, so I'm with you on that. And, there was one other thing I wanted to ask you. You made a comment just in our general discussions each day. You made a comment about James Conner. That you thought this year that you thought he was almost declining a little bit. What
you're putting me on the spot here.
I sure as hell am. What did you mean by that?
Okay, well, look. Running backs have a very short lifespan in the NFL because they take so much punishment.
Frank Gore is the exception, people.
Frank Gore is absolutely the exception. He's amazing. I mean, I think that guy's a borderline Hall of Famer.
I do too.
I truly do. But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of a running back who's in decline. Le'Veon Bell. Okay.
No, he's
sorry.
Really stepping in it.
No, he is. He is. And I'm not the only person who feels this way. Matt Williamson was saying it the last year that Bell was in Pittsburgh. All he said was, look, I'm not saying he sucks. I'm saying he's hit his peak, and now he's coming down the backside.
Yeah.
And committing big money to a guy who's in decline is not smart.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look at the year Bell's having in New York. He's not very impressive. He's got the big money. He's got the big contract. Still would have made more in Pittsburgh, in my opinion.
Yep.
And that's based upon just looking at the way the Steelers pay out their big contracts. He would have made the big money for at least 3 years, so he would have made upwards of $43 million in 3 years. He's not going to see even that much from the Jets.
No.
So getting back to the point at hand, that short lifespan. Look, James Conner's health struggles have been very public between, having cancer, surviving that, his knee issues. The guy is just, he's beat up, and he's gotten beat up over the course of his career. And I don't see the same burst from him that I saw last year. And that's the thing to me that is the most telling. And I think he may be in decline or beginning to decline. And I think that the context of that conversation when we were on Slack was we were talking about who we would extend next year and who we wouldn't. And I would let him play out his contract and see how things go. I wouldn't extend him next year. I would not give him a big raise next year. I would just say, hey, there's just not enough money left, James. We're going to let you play this out. We'd like to keep you, play hard. Let's see what happens. And then just see what happens with him. That and the other side of this is, and God, people in Pittsburgh are going to kill me for this, but running back is just becoming a fungible position.
It is.
It's just so easy to replace. It's so easy to replace a running back that paying a running back make money now, it just doesn't make any sense from an economic standpoint. It just doesn't make any sense. So you don't necessarily want to tie up a guy for $8 or $9 million a year when you can pay a young guy 25% of that and get the same production or better, especially if that guy is going into decline. And my instinct is that James Conner is, and that's just my instinct right now.
Well, look, I know I put you on the spot, but I agree with you. I still see some burst, but I don't see it nearly as often. Not even close. And that is what first started concerning me. I just don't see a guy who hits the hole and turns the Jets on the way he was able to last season. I see it occasionally, but I just don't see it enough. And so I tend to kind of side with you on that. And then when you look, as you were talking about with running backs around the league, I mean, look at the 49ers. I watched them a little bit against the Browns the other night. I mean, they've got guys at running back that weren't drafted, guys that nobody's really ever heard of unless you rooted for their college. they're doing an excellent job. They catch the ball, they block, they run the ball. And, and there are several other examples. I mean, you look at Denver, the Lindsey kid out there, he wasn't drafted, and he's, a 1,000-yard rusher last year and another 100-yard game this past weekend. There's just too many backs. And what's Bell averaging right now? He's averaging about 2.6 per carry, I think.
2.8.
Yeah. I mean, it's just these guys hit walls fast.
Bell's line isn't very good either, though.
Well, that is also true.
Yeah, you got to take that into consideration. But I mean, James Conner's not doing much better, and
no.
Up until this season, the Steelers' offensive line was vaunted, this great offensive line, and I'm not seeing that either. But it's not like they suddenly forgot how to block or that James suddenly forgot how to run. They just aren't. They aren't doing it.
And to be fair, they've played pretty good defensive fronts too.
They have.
The Patriots, the Seahawks, the Niners. I mean, those are pretty good fronts.
You look at the teams the Steelers have lost to, and their combined record is 16-3. Okay, they've lost to some good teams.
Yep.
All right, but that isn't to say that the Steelers are a good team or that they're a good offense. They're not, just not. And I hate to lay all of this on Mason, but if Ben were still playing right now, I mean, I think they might be 4-1. I really do. And he still would have had some games that we would be pointing at and going, Ben, if you worked harder over the summer, you wouldn't have these slow starts.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating. And would you knock it off when you start practicing on Wednesdays and da-da-da-da-da? But, when you get a change like that and you got to bring in a guy who admittedly is less talented than the starter and also is a very young player, you're going to see some downside there, and there's going to be a gap, and that's what we're seeing right now. And when you also throw into the fact that you lost the best wide receiver in the league, that hurts things too. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and that's been a trickle.
It's not just
effect.
It's not just the offensive coordinator. That's all I'm saying. Do not give these players a pass. The offensive line is not playing as well. Okay, in particular on the left side, Al and Foster are not playing as well this year. Although David DeCastro hasn't exactly lit the field on fire either. But the O-line's not playing as well this year, and the quarterback play has been erratic.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to get with a backup or backups, We're going to wind things down here on the show. Obviously a tall task for the Steelers, depending on your viewpoint. But, there's a very decent chance they're going up against a dinged-up defense out there in Los Angeles. So hopefully the Steelers will put on a good performance in that little soccer stadium they're going to be playing in. And, it would be great if they could get to 2-4 in the bye and perhaps get a little momentum coming out of that. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you, as always, to 26shirts.com/Pittsburgh for sponsoring us. Make sure you check out the site, steelcityblitz.com, and on Twitter @SCBlitz, and, of course, at Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else you can find Great Steelers Talk, of course. And so for Ben, this is Steel Dad, and I'm signing off. And, hey, go Steelers.
Ravens still suck.